This is Beatlemania. This is Ed Rudy with a documentary presentation of inside information behind the first successful British invasion of America. In a bloodless victory that had hundreds of thousands of young Americans screaming for joy, the Beatles came to America and completely conquered the hearts of most of our teenagers and many of their parents also. The Beatles are the world's most successful performers, and their manager, Brian Epstein, can be credited with infecting most of the world with a highly contagious case of Beatlemania. Never before, and perhaps never again, will there be seen a phenomenon like the popularity of the lads from Liverpool. No one really knows how it happened, but perhaps this documentary presentation will provide some of the answers. In any case, I believe that even those who are not infected with Beatlemania will be impressed by the quick wit and unique humor of the Liverpudlian lads. Their talents lie in many directions. Among the many things that the Beatles and Brian Epstein brought to America was some British colloquialisms like fab and gear. I think that you will agree that these best describe the Beatles themselves. This is Ed Rudy reporting.
Paul McCartney, George Harrison,
Ringo. This is John Lennon, and this is the top complete behind-the-scenes coverage of the Beatles in America by the fifth Beatle, Ed Rudy. This is one of the original four Beatles, John Lennon, saying thank you for the wonderful reception we've received in the United States, and stay tuned for Ed Rudy's reports and as we tour the States. Okay, Ed?
Let's get down to business and get the inside information directly from the Beatles. Here's George Harrison. George, has the pace of this fantastic American tour been too wearing on you?
Well, not that I can see. You know, we get a bit paler looking on a tour, but that's with living indoors. But, you know, we always organise it so that we don't collapse on a tour and then we have a few weeks off. You know, it's always organised, so we manage.
George, many of your American fans are very, very concerned about the status of Pattie Boyd. Is she still your girlfriend?
Yeah, she was a girlfriend, you know. But I mean, people have girlfriends, don't they? You see, that's the thing. If we don't go with girls, they say you're queer or something's wrong with you. And if you do, they say you get married. You know, you can't win. So, you know, that's it.
As long as you brought the subject up, George, is marriage in the wings?
I don't know. But, you know, if I wanted to, I would, you know. But at the moment, I'm not planning on anything, you know.
George, what do you think of the great first and second American tours of the Beatles?
I think it's been a tremendous success. And, you know, I think everybody's been quite happy, the fans and the press and us. You know, the main objective has been, you know, what's the word? We've done it, you know, the main thing we came to do, let the fans see us and let the press ask us questions, and I think everybody's more or less happy with it, especially us.
Has anything about the tour disturbed you, George? Does anything bother you about making so many stops in so short a time?
Just the flying around. It's the only thing that bothers me, you know, because you can't go to different places by road because they're so far away, so you've got to fly. But, you know, apart from that, everything's going great.
Though it would seem hard to picture because of the fantastic reaction that you get wherever you go, I wonder, are you homesick?
A bit, yeah. But I think everybody gets homesick when they're away from home for over a month or so.
George, do you write home to your parents frequently?
Occasionally, you know, none of us like sitting down writing a letter. We'd rather telephone, you know, phone home to find out what's happening, you know, occasionally. It's much easier than writing letters.
George, are your parents Beatle fans? Do they take an interest in your career?
Of course, yeah. All the time.
Have you had an unfavorable reaction any place in America?
No, I don't think so. No.
George, your sister Lucille is an American citizen. Would you contemplate becoming an American citizen and living here permanently?
No, I wouldn't mind having a house in some place hot, like Florida, and live there for a month every year, but I couldn't live here for longer than that.
Well, thank you, George Harrison. Now let's move along and get some inside information from Paul McCartney. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Paul McCartney, you're known as the Pretty Beatle. How have the American teenagers reacted to you along this great American tour?
The tour, marvellous. Great. It's a nice place, you know. It's America. Good place.
Has the reaction of the fans been what you expected, Paul?
Yes, I think so, you know. It's been wild. I mean, somebody said before we got over here it's going to be a wild tour. Well, it has been, you know. We've enjoyed it, actually. It's good.
Paul, your first motion picture, A Hard Day's Night, received fantastic acclaim from critics and viewers alike. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about the second picture that you'll soon be doing.
We do it in February. There's no real plans so far about it, but there's a big possibility it's going to be in colour, but nobody's really too sure. Other than that, you know, nobody really knows.
Will it be another comedy, Paul?
I should think it will be, you know, because we could act well enough to do anything else, you know.
Paul, some of the American critics have compared the Beatles to the Marx Brothers. How do you react to that?
I don't know, really, you know, it's a good big compliment, because the Marx Brothers was fantastic, you know, and if we're anywhere near as good as them, well, that's marvellous. I don't think we are, but it's a nice compliment anyway, isn't it?
Paul, has the phenomenal success of the Beatles left you happy?
Yeah, I'm happy, you know. I mean, I get plenty of chance when we're at home to go out, you know, and I get plenty of chance to see... Oops, radio wind up. Get plenty of chance to see my parents, you know, and have a good time. It's nice, you know.
Paul, Jane Asher was your girlfriend, your steady girl.
By steady, she's my girlfriend, you know, that's...
Oh, what I really meant, is she the only girlfriend? Do you have any other girlfriends?
Well, I mean, I don't get a chance to meet many girlfriends, you know. She's my girlfriend, you know.
Paul, is marriage to Jane Asher in the wind at this point?
In the wings? I don't know, you know. It definitely isn't for a couple of years, at least, you know, but... I mean, you never can tell. You know, so far she's my girlfriend. There's no plans to get engaged, married, or anything, but you never can tell, you know.
Thank you, Paul McCartney, for giving us an insight into your private life. The Beatles had many press conferences while in America, and at this point we are going to address ourselves to all four of them. John, I know that you're a fan of satire and even write along a satirical kick. I wonder if the four of you have seen the satirical magazine that is doing a takeoff on the Beatles.
No, I can't stand it.
It's not funny.
It's not funny, is it?
It's not.
It's not funny, right? It's funny before the war. Since the war, it's gone down the neck.
No.
Stop that fiddling with it.
Fellas, you're noted for your quick wit, and you always handle these press conferences in fantastic style. But I wonder, after all of these many press conferences, are there any questions that should have been asked that never were?
There probably are some, but, you know, they probably weren't worth asking anyway. Can't think of any. No.
Ringo, your popularity has risen from being perhaps the least known of the Beatles, since you are the newest, to being the best known of the Beatles. Why is that? Why do you always stand out when you're with the other fellas?
I don't know, really. I just end up there, you see. Ringo, freelance. How many rings also? If they're any good.
One of the prime reasons for the Beatles' popularity is the fact that they don't take themselves too seriously. How do you feel about being accused of putting on the whole world?
Swell, we enjoy it.
We're not really putting it on.
How does it feel to be put on?
That's an answer.
How do you feel about the American rock and roll groups who imitate the Beatles by putting on Beatle wigs and attempting to sing in the Beatles style?
Well, they're not imitating us because we don't wear Beatle wigs.
Doesn't bother us.
It's okay.
Well, it's good, isn't it? They don't imitate us over here anyway.
How do you feel about the other groups from your part of England who are coming over to America and attempting to make it big on the basis of the popularity that you have created?
Well, it's not competition, but they're very good. We like them and we know them, and they're good lads and they play well. And there's enough money over here for every group in Britain to come and make a fortune.
Are the Beatles friendly with any of the other Liverpool groups?
Jerry and the Pacemakers, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas, Searchers, those
Most of the Beach Boys.
Nearly, yeah.
No, we just played with them when we were kids. Sorry.
Oh, let me have a go! We knew them before, you see.
George Harrison, when I see you perform Till There Was You, in the middle it appears that you're working solo, and yet it sounds like a duet. Is it a duet?
It's not, no, it's quite Christian. I said it was quite Christian. No, it may sound a bit odd because I played on a guitar with nylon strings, a Spanish guitar.
He was wearing his nylon.
You see, but it's not a duet.
Duet.
John, you're the only married Beatle. I wonder if you fellas feel that if the rest of you got married, would it ruin your success?
No. No! Why would it? The fans have got more sense than that.
Have you fellas ever fought over the same girl?
Only over sin. No, that's a joke. No.
I think that I better explain that one. When you said you were fighting over sin, you of course meant Cynthia Lennon, John's wife. But to get back to the questions, do you fellas use any specific type of preparation for that very, very famous Beatle cut that all of you wear?
No, we have dandruff now and then, like any normal person.
During the recent American presidential elections, did you have any preference for any one of the candidates?
Yeah, Eisenhower. I think he should get in again.
No, nothing to do with it.
You are probably the best-known recording artists and performers in the whole world, and I'm sure that this hampers your ability to go out with girls or go out on the town. Is this true?
No, well, we get out quite a bit actually. It's only on tour that we don't get out.
I get out all the time on tour.
We get out quite a bit. Ringo's always out.
Finding him the trouble.
Generally speaking, what did you think of the fellas and girls who attended the Beatle concerts all around the United States?
Yes, very orderly.
Does it please you when the fans scream, or would you rather have them quiet?
Just whatever they want to do, you know. If they want to scream, scream. If they want to shut up, shut up.
Well, if they've paid to come in and scream, you know, good on them. That's what I say.
John, I know that you're quite nearsighted and sometimes have difficulty when up on stage. Have you ever thought of wearing contact lenses?
Yes, I have, but I've never had time to go and get them.
Only one of the Beatles is married, and his name is John Lennon. Here we go over to John for some in-depth questioning. John, what have you thought of the American trip?
It's been very good, and we've all had a good time. You know, everybody's been great to us, and it's been marvelous.
Did any of the cities on the tour create any special problem, John?
No, the only difficulty we did have was the Jacksonville bit, because whether we could go or not with the hurricane and all, but it turned out okay.
This has been your second American tour within a year, and they've both been quite hectic. Do you look forward to coming back again?
Yeah, we love it over here.
When will the Beatles be back to our shores again, John?
Oh, I haven't a clue, you know, that's all arranged over our heads. We're just sort of told when we're going anywhere.
John, your wife Cynthia was with you on the first trip, but she isn't this time. How frequently do you get in touch with her?
Almost every night, sometimes every other day, depending if we travel right after a show. It's too late to ring up, you know.
John, how does Cynthia react to your trips away from home?
Well, she's getting a bit cheesed off now, waiting for me to come home, but I'm telling her to hang on, I'll be back.
Well, Cynthia has little John Jr. to keep her company anyway. How is he?
Oh, he's fine, you know, he's healthy.
Is Cynthia disturbed with the great deal of traveling that you must do, John?
Well, she does, you know, now and then, especially with mad rumours about plane crashes and that going about, but if I keep in touch with her, you know, I can sort of dispel the rumours.
Would you say that your infant son, John Jr., is afflicted with Beatlemania, John?
Not that I've noticed, no.
I imagine that you miss him, though, John.
Yeah, well, obviously, you know.
Many English youngsters have acquired Beatle haircuts since your rise to fame. Does little John Jr. have one?
Well, he's got a sort of baby haircut, you know, the usual sort of just hair hanging about.
Well, that sounds pretty much like a Beatle haircut with the hair hanging about, as you describe it. Do you feel that your son can lead a normal life, considering the fantastic popularity that his dad has achieved all over the world?
Probably, because by the time it counts for anything, it'll all be over, you know. I'll probably be quite a normal, you know, won't be a sort of a Beatle as I am now. You know, so he'll be all right, probably.
John, what can you tell us about your new picture for United Artists?
It's probably going to be in colour, and we hope it's going to be a laugh.
How do you feel about the great critical acclaim given Hard Day's Night?
Oh, we're very pleased with the reception it's got everywhere. You know, it's just been marvellous, especially from the serious critics. You know, they've sort of appreciated the bits that are sort of not just plain pop film stuff, and we're pleased, you know.
Did you know that your first film was part of a British-Soviet cultural exchange?
Oh, I didn't know about that. That's news to me. I don't think that, like, I know they're sending us probably Cossack dancers or something in exchange. It's good, you know. I don't think we'll ever really make it over there, but I'm not worried.
John, have you found the time to do the many, many things that I know that you wanted to do in America, or has it been too much of a rat race? Has it been just too busy?
Well, we don't expect to do things that we want to do. You know, we are here to tour, and we're not expecting to have a days off. We've had a couple of days off and had a good, you know, swim or gone around in cars and things on the days off. But, you know, we are here to work, so we're not worried about it.
John, how would you compare this trip to your first, when I toured with you down to Florida and Washington, D.C.? How would you compare the two trips?
Oh, well, the first trip was originally just to promote records, you know. It was only that after one of the records took off that we decided to do shows. So the first one was just easy. It was just sort of popping out. It was like a holiday, the first one.
Uniquely, though you're the most popular group in the United States, you have been outranked in Great Britain at this point. How do you feel about this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it doesn't bother. We heard about it, but it's happened. It happens before. Your sales of records say who's top, and we're winning. That's all there is to it. You know, it's only a sort of one magazine. We've lost a few times, even in the middle of the worst Beatlemania in Britain. We've lost to another group. It doesn't matter.
This is Paul McCartney of the Beatles saying, stay tuned for Ed Rudy's exclusive coverage of our American tour.
This is the Beatles' own story. At another press conference, we asked the Beatles if they had ever had a reception like the one that they have received all over America.
I don't think so, not quite like this one. Nice to be here. It's nice to be here, great. It's having a good time.
How do you account for your fantastic success?
We can't tell you. Wish we knew. No idea. Good press agent.
The question here.
John, would you like to describe your new house for the American Beatle fans? I'm sure that they're interested in every detail.
I can't really. It's just a sort of big house, you know, that's in its own grounds. That's all. I haven't a clue. I haven't counted them.
Is Cynthia back home in that great big house all by herself now?
She's with her mother now, and she's got a couple of helpers in because it's sort of all empty and bare and like a haunted house at the moment.
Can you name some of the American foods that you've eaten here that you would not ordinarily have back in Great Britain?
I can only think of the ones that I couldn't stand to eat. Like today, somebody brought us apple pie with a piece of cheese on top. Whoa, it's a big thing in Britain too. We won't have it. That's why it's a big thing. You know, no, I mean with cream, apple pie is okay, but with cheese, you know, it's different. A bit funny.
Paul, at several of the shows, I spotted gals running up on stage trying to grab one or more of the boys. Does this disturb you greatly?
Yeah, it happened. Somebody just ran up and grabbed George, you know. It was a laugh, nothing really happened. Mind you, thousands of police came onto the stage then. It looked funny, but nothing really was happening. It's a good laugh, really.
We're talking to Paul McCartney now. Paul, there's been a great deal of talk in the United States about the pirate stations on ships off the shore of Great Britain. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, that's right. There's one called Radio Caroline, and it's on a ship about 5 miles out of the boundary of Britain, out at sea, and there's another one in, it's not a pirate station, but it's Radio Luxembourg. They record the program in London and then fly the tapes out to Luxembourg and then broadcast from there.
Paul, do you find it difficult to maintain your equilibrium in the face of this fabulous Beatlemania that you and the rest of the boys have created all over America, and as a matter of fact, all over the world?
No, not really. No? You know, just keep sane, it's the main thing, you know, you just accept everything as it is and don't think too much about everything. Don't worry. I don't think any of the group is, you know, we're all more or less the same, and, you know, we just take everything in our stride.
The Beatle entourage for the second tour was substantially larger than on the first. Here are two of our Fourth Estate colleagues. American Radio Pulse-Beat News reporter Jay Levy discusses the tour with Ivor Davis, a British newsman from the London Daily Express.
Ivor, you've been with the Beatles since they came to America?
Yes, since they came to San Francisco and then took off on this tour.
How does it stack up to you?
Well, I think the tour has been a terrific success, obviously, because you saw what happened in the first performance, and it's been like this everywhere. Shrieking kids and fans and terrific reception, and the boys have almost conquered America. Better than last time, I think, when they did, the Ed Sullivan Show and stuff like that.
How do they personally appeal to you?
Well, I found through traveling with them that most of them are very amiable, are very genial sort of fellows, and despite this terrific success, I found that they've been very cooperative with the press anyway, and they're just four very nice guys, I found. That's about it.
Has there been any particular highlight that you've noted in the trip so far?
Well, I think there's been so many highlights. I think there was a terrific reception at San Francisco. There was a time that we almost ran for our lives in Vancouver when the kids started breaking through police barriers. There were wild rides, 2 o'clock in the morning when we lost a police escort, and we had patrol kids on motorcycles and the cars dodging in and out at 60, 70 miles an hour on the freeway and expressway. And there's been battling our way through crowds to get to hotels. I think it boils down to every single city has been something new, but. We think we've seen it all, but we really haven't. Every time we arrive, there's something new and something different that hasn't happened to us in the past.
Do you think American and Canadian teenagers are hosting the Beatles as well as the British teenagers?
I think they've done it even more so. They don't get the opportunity to see the Beatles as much as they do in England. In England, of course, this is where they are. This is their home. They get used to them to some extent, but in America, of course, well, you saw them on the network television, and this is the only opportunity that kids in each town, Baltimore, Boston, wherever we've been, have had an opportunity to maybe stand outside the hotel, catch a glimpse of them, and come to the show and really, it's been more than a hard day's night. The Beatlemania is surpasses anything I've ever seen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so it seems, in the eyes of a British newsman at least, that the Beatles' month-long journey through the United States was a hard day's month, for the press anyway. And here we have some excerpts from another Beatle press conference. The Beatle boys are at their best in parrying the questions of the experienced American newsman. I've noticed that the Beatles never stay at the same hotel twice. Aren't you ever asked to return?
We don't get asked anywhere.
Why do Beatle fans like the Beatles?
Mainly the music. come first and we come after. You people heard us playing on record before they saw us, didn't they see after you'd made the record?
Is there any truth to the stories printed in American fan magazines that say John Lennon is going to leave the Beatles?
No, it's another rumor.
Do the Beatles believe that they could use their fantastic popularity to sway votes in an election?
Well, most people that like us are underage, you know, they couldn't vote anyway, so it's, you know.
And anyway, none of us know enough about politics.
No, nobody doesn't want to know that.
Could you estimate how much money you've made in America, and as a matter of fact, throughout the world, since the Beatles have become popular?
We haven't a clue.
Some Beatle fans say that they are going to change their affiliation because you're too hard to reach. It's too hard to see you. They have to wait for many, many hours before they can even get a glimpse of you, and you very, very rarely even come to the window to wave at them.
Well, if they're going to leave us just for that, they may as well go anyway.
As soon as we got here last night by the police, don't look out of the windows and don't wave. And if we do that, you know, then we get the police chief coming up and saying, well, we're finished, boys. You know, so we can't do anything.
Paul McCartney, do you have intentions of getting married?
I suppose so, you know. But I'm not married already, as Mr. Winchell says.
Ringo Starr, what do you intend to do after this Beatlemania calms down?
I don't know, you know, we just keep going and see what happens. I haven't planned anything.
Some of your detractors allege that you're really bald and those Beatle haircuts are really wigs. Is that true?
Oh, we're all bald, yeah. I'm deaf and dumb, too.
Despite your youth, you've achieved a great deal of success, but I'm sure that you still have ambitions. What are they?
To go to America.
And at this press conference, the Beatles once again amazed the American newsmen with their perspicacity. We spoke to one of the police officers in charge of security for the Beatles, and he gave us a rather amusing answer when we asked him about these precautions.
We're trying to protect them as much as the kids. We don't want them getting stampeded or anything. These here are teenagers that we got to contend with, and they have to be prevented from grabbing a hold of these here fellows and clipping their hair. We wouldn't want to have any bald Beatles, see.
At one of the Beatles concerts, we spoke to many of the fans who were assembled outside of the concert hall. Here is their reaction. What do you think?
I think they're great.
They're great.
Fabulous.
What did you think of the show?
I thought it was great. I really did. Come on. I thought it was fantastic. Great music. Great music.
What did you think of the show?
It was very good. Terrific. They're being cute. They're great. They're great. They were marvelous. They really were.
What did you think of the show tonight?
It was lovely.
Are you from England?
Yes.
Are you from England?
I've lived there, though. Yes, I am. Lived there for 5 years.
Did you particularly like them because they were English or because of the way they performed?
Partly, but I like them also, their singing and everything, their looks.
Do you think that they're more English or American?
Oh, God, English. Their wit is English. They're very witty, and that's very English.
We asked Ringo Starr to describe a typical evening on the town when they do get a chance to go on the town.
We went to this bunny club place, you know, the Playboy Club. And then we went to the Peppermint Lounge, and it was swinging down there. Everything was happening, you know. We had a great time down there. And all the press were there. You know, wherever we go, there's always some press or somebody.
Among the Beatles' many accomplishments was the fact that they were honored at the British Embassy, a first for a rock and roll group. We spoke to John about it.
John, this is the first time a rock and roll group has been honored at the embassy. What do you have to say about that?
Really?
At the embassy party honoring the Beatles, Ringo talked with a British Major General attached to the diplomatic staff.
I had a wig on earlier, and I claimed you were all as my son.
We need a 10%.
No, Ringo, on your performance over here.
Thanks a lot.
No, I mean that a lot because I watched you on the box last night. I haven't seen my daughter saw you tonight.
Yeah, did you enjoy it?
And I enjoyed it very much because you were having a very good go at everybody. And what you were putting over was good.
Thanks a lot. Thanks very much.
Very good. Very good.
Like the General, British Ambassador Lord Ormsby Gore also praised the Beatles.
Ambassador, could you give us just your general feeling about the Beatles and their music? And
what if they add to the gaiety of nations?
They undoubtedly do. An American wit said that the Beatles were Britain's repayment for the Sky Vault. How do you feel about that?
No, I don't think that's true at all. I think they're just, as I say, adding to the enjoyment of the people of Britain and to the people of the United States.
Are they somewhat typical of the tops in British entertainment today?
Well, they're tops from the point of view of the public. I think this is very clear.
As the Beatles left another of their concerts, the crowd swarmed around them, and we picked up this sound.
Hey, Ringo! Let's go! Let's go! That's the chauffeur in this. You didn't chauffeur in this. Okay, watch it.
I don't know, you know.
They're going to have a party?
But after the way that audience treated them tonight, they could go and have a ball, but I don't know.
We once again got a chance to ask the Beatles some in-depth questions, and one of the first things we asked Paul McCartney was his reaction to the crowd screaming at the Beatle concerts.
Yeah, if we're sort of playing well and the audience is going a bomb, well, the show can be fantastic. You know. Same with any artist, the audience is going a bomb. What normally happens is that when sort of the girls are screaming, though, people notice it more. I think, you know, that it's a different kind of audience reaction to the one you normally get. So everybody sort of points this out more. But it definitely helps to swing a show along if the audience is going like a bomb, like it was last night.
Doesn't distract you?
No. Well, we enjoy it, you know. It's just, I don't know, it's the young people's way of showing their appreciation. We love it. Don't think there's any sort of symbolism or anything in it.
As of this point, do you have any specific ambitions?
We used to have lots of ambitions. You know, like #1 records and sort of Sunday night at the Palladium, Ed Sullivan's show, go to America, you know, 1,000 of ambitions like that. I can't really think of any more. We've done an awful lot of them at the moment.
Do you have anything specific that you would like to achieve in life?
To be having a laugh, you know, to be happy.
Are you planning your future?
No, because we've never done that so far. We haven't done that over the last 5 years, and so we're not going to bother it now. Just suddenly start plotting it. It was 5 years ago. You know, we just never bothered thinking of what was going to happen in the future, and we've been lucky. We've never had to think so far. So I'm not going to start thinking now. Yeah.
I know that you have seen enough of the American teenagers to have an opinion. What do you think of American teenagers?
I think they're great, you know, they're just on their own, aren't they? They're happening, they're what's happening, babe.
I know you're billed as Paul McCartney, John Lennon, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. Are these your real names?
Yeah, except Ringo. Ringo isn't. His name's Richard Starkey, and Ringo Starr. He's called Ringo because of these rings. You know, he's been called that for a few years. And Starr. He didn't like Starkey, you know.
John, do you find the reaction here in the United States is very different from what you experienced back home? The reaction of the teenagers?
No, I find it's very similar. Only over here they sort of. Went wilder quicker, you know. In England, we sort of had to go round and, you know, we toured and things like that and got known. But I suppose the publicity helped a lot here.
Well, you were pretty much pre-sold when you came over here.
Yeah, well, it could have killed us as well, you know. I mean, like, we could have just come over and got off the plane and said, we don't want to know about that, you know. Look at them, we don't, you know. Publicity can, you know, can do a lot, but you can't sell anything if the kids don't want it, you know. I believe that.
Yeah, well, I've got 2 kids, one a teenager, the other one verging on being a teenager, and I don't think your publicity could have hurt you one bit.
Okay, I hope not, anyway.
The whole reaction has been fantastic. Do you feel that it's a fad? Would you call it a fad?
Oh, obviously. I mean, anything in this business is a fad. I mean, we don't think we're going to last forever. We're just going to have a good time while it lasts, you know.
Would you call it a fad that should last for a long time?
Well, you know, something that's got sort of this wild... You know, anybody, whatever people say about you die tomorrow, we could go on working from now on for another 5 years with you know, even not at this rate, and make a lot of money. You know, obviously it's going to level out. So being people say you're going to die next month, you mightn't be as popular, but you know, you can go on from this peak, I think.
It's pretty difficult for me to determine exactly what the Beatles sound is. I like rock and roll, I'm not putting it down, but I don't really understand what is the Beatles sound. Can you define it for me?
Well, as far as all of us concerned, there's no such thing as the Liverpool sound, the Mersey sound, or even a Beatles sound. You know, it's just a name that people tag on. It's just us playing rock and roll. The only difference is we wrote it. You know, that's the only difference, most of it anyway. We didn't write all of it. But, you know, that's the only thing that's the Beatles sound, only because we wrote the songs, you know.
Do all of you write, John?
Paul and I do most of the writing. George has written a few, Ringo hasn't, because it's hard to write something on the drums, isn't it?
Yes. And you do your own arrangements, I'd assume?
Yeah, we arrange them in the studio normally, you know.
You mean they're head arrangements, right? Done right in the studio?
Yeah, well, we get a basic idea, you know, because you write a song, you get a sound in your head that you think it's going to sound like, and it usually turns out different, you know. We've given up trying to plan it too much before we go in, as long as we all know what we're doing as we go in the studio. Yeah, well, I mean, that's how it happens. None of us can read music, and we never have any. Our A&R man can read music, so, you know, sometimes you say that note's just, you know, that doesn't work. You know, you can't have it, and we'll have to go into it, detail on the piano and everything, and work it out. And we say it does work. You know, we're singing it. It works, and sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong. You know. But it usually all works out in the end.
If you can feel it, then it sounds good. Is that the way you feel?
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes you think you feel it, and you listen back, and it doesn't happen. You know, you're really feeling it, and you're swinging, it doesn't happen. But when it does, it's great.
Ed Sullivan gets credit for much of the popularity of the Beatles because of their exposure on his show. We asked Ed how he accounted for their success.
Well, it's a better beat. It's Dick Rogers. I asked Dick that the other day. I thought it was, you know, like the Negro spirituals. Dick Rogers said it's hillbilly with an English accent. But he said the beat is very, very excellent in it.
And would you say that that's the reason for their success? The fact they're English youngsters doing American music?
No, they're very attractive and they're nice. You know, they don't do anything that's offensive. And they're darn good singers.
Joining Ed Sullivan in Beatle accolades, we interviewed Mrs. Happy Rockefeller, wife of New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller, after another Beatle concert.
Miss Rockefeller, what did you think of the show?
I thought they were wonderful.
And so we find Beatle fans among the high and mighty, as well as throughout the teenage population of the world. This is Ed Rudy reporting on Beatlemania, USA.